Imagine being dragged into an arena with 50,000 strangers staring down at you. The scent of sweat and death hangs heavy in the heat. Above you, perched high on marble tiers, a crowd waits. Not for a play, but for the moment your body breaks. This was not fantasy. This was daily Rome. Welcome to an empire where power was stamped in blood, and cruelty was not a byproduct of spectacle. It was the spectacle. In today's video, we're peeling back the polished veneer of the Colosseum, the amphitheaters, the naval battles, and theatre executions. We'll uncover moments so savage they tested even Rome's appetite for violence. Stick around. This is one journey into history's darker heart you won't look away from. Long before emperors threw beasts to the lions, Rome's spectacle began at funerals. In 264 BC, the sons of a noble named Brutus refused a customary statue or mournful tribute. Instead, they armed 3 pairs of slaves to fight in the forum, a violent offering to the deceased. That act, known as munus, marked the seed of gladiatorial combat. Over the centuries, that seed grew. What once honored the dead became a display of elite privilege. Funerary fights morphed into public festivals tied to religious ritual, Jupiter, Saturnalia, and others. But soon the games shed any pretense of piety. They became a tool of social stability, a way to pacify crowds and display the state's unchallengeable grip. Think of it this way. Every time the Senate organized games, it was sending 2 messages at once. 1, we give you bread and spectacle. 2, we control the means of life and death. That duality turned spectators into accomplices. We often imagine gladiators as gladiators, athletic, honored, even romanticized. In truth, most were slaves or condemned men fighting at the whim of authorities. The show was never about glory. It was about control. By framing death as entertainment, leaders collapsed the distance between citizen and spectacle. They taught the crowds that life, even suffering, was something granted by the state. As gladiatorial combat took hold, another grotesque spectacle grew in parallel. Venationes, animal hunts staged in the arena. Exotic beasts, lions, leopards, crocodiles, even giraffes, were captured from the far reaches of the empire and flown, or shipped, into Rome as living trophies. One early record, Julius Caesar, in 46 BC, displayed a giraffe, dubbed camelopard, in Rome. But the creature wasn't admired. It was sent to its death, torn apart before cheering crowds. The signal was stark. Rome could subdue anything, man or beast. By the opening of the Colosseum in AD 80, Emperor Titus is said to have presided over a massacre of more than 9,000 animals in a single festival. Archaeologists have unearthed bones showing signs of deliberate starvation, broken limbs, and bite wounds consistent with staged fights. During the reign of Emperor Commodus, he styled himself as Hercules. He would enter the arena in a lion skin, a bow in hand, slaughtering animals himself to show his divine strength. But behind the scenes, those creatures were shackled, weakened, maimed, ensuring an easy victory. It was a spectacle built on cruelty, not skill. Animals were not mere props, they were symbols. Each carcass signified conquest. Each roaring beast forced into combat was proof that Roman dominion extended not just over people, but over the natural world. If you think gladiatorial shows pitted 2 equals against one another, think again. The organizers employed every trick imaginable to stack the odds, amplify drama, and suppress dissent. Fighters might be forced to wear helmets that narrowed vision, muffled sound, or made breathing difficult, turning every move into a gamble. Sometimes, one man faced multiple opponents. Other times, women, gladiatrices, fought against beasts or against each other. Weapons themselves told stories. The retiarius with net and trident had to face the secutor, whose helmet was rounded to deflect the net. The match was symbolic, liberation versus oppression, but skewed in favor of the steady, armored killer. Prisoners, criminals, or rebels were often forced into the arena as villains in mythic reenactments. Pirates mauled by beasts, traitors burned alive, Prometheus chained to vultures. They had no choice. A poet named Martial described an opening ceremony where a performer cast as Orpheus was singing to tame beasts. But when a bear was released mid-performance, it tore him apart. The myth turned death into parody. These distortions demonstrate not sportsmanship. They were theatre in the crudest sense. The organizers understood the psychology of power. By forcing unfairness, they humbled any resistance. The arena was not just a place of death. It was a place where propaganda was implanted into the crowd's heart. For Rome, execution was never merely punitive. Execution was spectacle. In damnatio ad bestias, condemnation to beasts, criminals, deserters, slaves, even early Christians were hurled naked into the ring, often after being tortured or humiliated. The crowd jeered as they attempted to flee or defend themselves, only to be torn apart as morality plays. Other cruel innovations. Human torches, victims soaked in pitch, dressed in tunics, ignited before the crowd. Crucifixion inside the arena. While vendors sold wine, children played, and laughter echoed. Naumachii, giant water basins constructed inside or near Rome, filled with ships and captives. Prisoners were forced to fight naval battles, usually to their death. Claudius famously drained a lake to hold one such spectacle, where captives saluted with "Morituri te salutant," those who are about to die salute you. Myth reenactment. A citizen might be forced to play Prometheus, bound, tortured, mocked, Orpheus, maimed mid-song, or Pasiphae in a mechanical beast union scene. Their execution was dressed as art in grotesque parody. One of the most shocking, Emperor Domitian staged executions during theatrical interludes. The condemned would die between acts, becoming the macabre punctuation to a performance. Through all this, the message was stitched into bones. Defy Rome, and your death becomes entertainment. Not everyone cheered. Philosophers like Seneca balked at midday executions, warning they hardened men's hearts. He argued cruelty, when normalized, corrupts society itself. Cicero, earlier, decried those who celebrated cruelty for its own sake. As the empire weakened, the cost of spectacle rose. Wars drained coffers. Emperors competed to outdo predecessors. The appetite for grander, bloodier games drained Rome's economic vitality. By the 5th century, with Christianity rising and public sentiment shifting, the games waned. The stone seats grew cold. The crowds vanished, yet the spectre remains, ruins with deep echoes. Rome's games teach a hard truth. When violence is normalized, it seeps into the everyday. The crowd that once cheered in the Colosseum might go home and cheer for cruelty in politics, in war, in justice. A society that devours spectacle risk becoming the spectacle itself. So, which spectacle spoke Rome's darkest truth to you? The beast hunts? The living crucifixions? The entertainment that consumed lives? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this descent into history's shadow compelling, hit subscribe. I promise our next exploration will be just as unflinching. Until then, remember, stones remain. Their silence is a question. What will your echoes be?